let's get this over and done with then. Manchester United 3, Newcastle United 1. Apologies that this match review is out a day later due to the fact I was on a coastal walk yesterday. I didn't get back until late. I walked 26 miles and that was from Tynemouth to Blythe and back. And I missed the Newcastle game just as well. We're lost. So there wasn't really much to look forward to. I wasn't expecting much from the game. Realistically, a draw, very similar to Chelsea, but it just didn't happen. We shot ourselves in the foot in the second half in terms of the performance from where we were 1-1. And it's just typical Steve Bruce Bull. We mess up. And Manchester United deservedly took the 3 points with them from that match. Now, going back to the game last night, the result for me is not the real issue here. It's the performance, as I mentioned before, that I'm annoyed with, because the first half we played like we are expected to. High press, we got in their faces. Okay, Manchester United got the lead. But when we got it to 1-1, for me that was deserved, because when you have a go and you press a defence like we were, then you will get rewarded. However, second half, different kettle of fish. We just sat in too deep. Manchester United dictated the play. They had full control of that second half and they scored 2 very soft goals that could have been prevented. But for the chances that they created second half to what we didn't do, on merit, they deserve the win. They deserve to take away the 3 points with them. And for us, it's back to the drawing board. Not only that, I'm concerned because we're dropping more points. The writing has been on the wall for ages with myself in terms of Steve Bruce. I've said all along that he's not a good manager. He's not good enough to manage Newcastle United, let alone in the Premier League. The stats speak for themselves. And yes, we're not going to get defined on playing the likes of Chelsea and Manchester United. We're going to be defined on the upcoming games against Wolves, West Brom, Brighton, Aston Villa, so on and so forth. Now, we had 6 shots on target against Manchester United, and Steve Bruce can come out in his press conference all he likes and say, this wasn't a penalty, that decision wasn't that, this, that and the other. At the end of the day, we lost a game of football. We've dropped more points, and Fulham, who are in 80th place, beat Sheffield United. They're showing more balls to actually want to get out of relegation trouble. We are just standing there and accepting that our fate could be relegation come the end of the season. And we are all worried as a fan base because I'm not seeing enough effort for a full 90 minutes. You could talk about the fact that we had a good first half. We should have taken my chances. Yes, granted, we should have done. But second half, that wasn't acceptable. I know it's Manchester United. I know they've got a good side. But the manner in which we conceded those 2 goals shouldn't happen at Premier League level. It really shouldn't. We should be 100% switched on, and we weren't. I have to look back at his selection. The start 11 for me was all wrong. And I'm going to criticise it because we're in a situation now where we are in trouble. We are in danger of losing our Premier League status for the 3rd consecutive time under Mike Ashley. And he needs to start getting it right, dropping players where they're not playing well. So Darlow started instead of Dubravka. Why? Darlow, yes, granted, has had a good season and he's deserved his chance to really keep the number 1 jersey and make Dubravka work. But in recent months, for me, he's not been good enough and he's flapped at situations. He's getting beaten, he's near post. I'll talk about his mistake in the first goal in a second, but that's every reason to drop Carl Darlow and bring in Martin Dubravka, who for me is the number 1 keeper. Darlow's the number 2. And I feel like the pressure of Dubravka pushing Darlow has got to him. You can see it in the performances. I don't want to see Darlow back in the start 11 after this game. I want to see Dubravka in against Wolves because for me, he's a talker. He commands his area very well. He will get the best out of a tricky situation. He wouldn't get beat near post like that. For me, he pulls off fantastic saves and he really speaks to the defence, something Darlow doesn't do. Communication right now, in a difficult moment, is what we need, and we lack that. And that's why we're conceding daft goals and making individual mistakes. Don't get me wrong, Carl Darlow wasn't at fault for the other 2 goals. I can bring up the likes of Isaac Hayden, I can bring up Jamal Lewis, Emil Kraft, I'll talk about them in a second. But I have to start being critical because we are in a very serious situation. Now, he went with Emil Kraft at right back. I don't particularly rate him, but that's all we have. And you wonder why we got rid of DeAndre Yedlin. He's probably the best of the lot. The 2 centre-backs, fine, no problem. Left back, he went with Jamal Lewis. I rate Jamal Lewis, but for me, I wouldn't have started him. He's not been performing very well. He needs to be taken out of the firing line. I would have went with Paul Dummett, who for me is a better left back, more defensive, and that's the way it would have been against Man United anyway. We're going to be defensive. We're not going to attack a lot, and he would definitely show up the back 4. Didn't happen. Now, what really baffled me was the number 9 role, the striker role, and he went with Joe Linton rather than Dwight Gale. I don't know what Dwight Gale has done wrong to be dropped. Okay, we didn't see him much against Chelsea, but he was getting played out on the right-hand side rather than be played in his natural position, which is to be played up front, the focal point. And when he's whipping balls into no one against Chelsea, then what else is he supposed to do? How are we going to score goals when we haven't got that, target? Then, if we haven't got a target man, it's going to be difficult, isn't it? And I feel like Dwight Gale's unlucky there. What does Joe Linton offer? What does Steve Bruce see in Joe Linton that we don't already see? Because for me, I feel he's poor. For me, it's not about the price tag. He's just not good enough for Premier League level. He needs to drop down a level to the Championship, or he needs to be loaned out to another league, because for me, he's simply not at it right now. He's not a number 9. I've said that all along. I got pelters in the comments last year that Joe Linton retained his number 9 shirt rather than Callum Wilson. And the proof's in the pudding with Callum Wilson's goals. Now, I don't know if Callum Wilson wanted the number 13. That's up to him. But for me, Joe Linton is not good enough for top flight football right now. He's just too weak. That's it. And there was talk that Joe Linton could be sold in the summer for a loss. Mike Ashley needs to accept it. He's not going to get the 40 million quid back for him. For me, if you're going to start a striker, rather than Dwight Gale, you go Andy Carroll, because he's going to be more of a threat. And he's definitely going to ruffle a few feathers and he's going to put the United defence under a lot of pressure. I'm screeching in pain here. And Andy Carroll, for me, would at least be more of a threat to Lindelof and Maguire, who make mistakes. It was proven last night. Listen, it's ifs and buts. The game's gone now. But, if I'm the manager, you've got to make, a few changes. But anyway, going into the game, we'll get off to a bright start. We'll have chances. That's all well and good, but you've got to make them count. Shelvey tested David De Gea. There was a bit of a mix-up between defence and keeper, and De Gea manages to get it over the crossbar. And like I say, we'll have loads of chances, but Manchester United hit on the counter-attack half an hour in through Marcus Rashford. It was down our right-hand side, Manchester United's left. And Rashford, for me, it's too easy for him. He's never going to score an easier goal in his career. It's a defensive mistake by Emil Kraft. He doesn't only get beaten once, he gets beaten twice. And there's 2 occasions where he should have actually put in a challenge and he doesn't. He did the same thing against Chelsea. He's done it in the past, he's done it again. This is why I don't rate him. He's not Premier League quality. And Rashford spins him. And when Rashford is going towards the box, well, he's at that point in the box, Kraft has got to put a challenge in. He doesn't. And he gets beaten again. So that's the second time in that one move. And Rashford fires past Darlow. He's beaten at his near post. For me, that's poor by Darlow. He sees it. And he's got to be tipping that round the post. He doesn't. And Rashford gives Manchester United a 1-0 lead. And let's be fair, to Manchester United, they started to really build some counter-attacks. And they deserve to take the lead. But we didn't just sit back and feel sorry for ourselves. We got back into the game at 1-1 through Alan St-Maximin. He did have a previous chance, which was a good save by David De Gea. But then it was a mistake by Harry Maguire. He headed it towards Alan St-Maximin and he fires past David De Gea. He goes into the top left-hand corner, 1-1. You think, right, okay, let's build on it. We've had more than enough chances. Let's really take the game to Manchester United and cause an upset. We know that we're in trouble. Fulham are behind us. And if we can get something in the game, then we can really put the pressure on the likes of Brighton, Burnley, Crystal Palace, and put them, in the relegation fight if they're not already. Second half, we started brighter again, but we just sat back after that. We gave up, and Manchester United go on and score 2 very easy goals. I'll talk about the second one now through Daniel James. He would never have scored an easier goal in his career, very similar to Marcus Rashford. You could say it's a mistake, by the midfield. There's a selection of players that could really put in challenges that could have prevented the ball across to Daniel James. I could talk about Isaac Hayden. I could talk about Shelvey. I could talk about, Willock. Where's the challenges, on these players? And when the ball goes across to Daniel James, the closest to him in the box is Jamal Lewis. Again, why not put the challenge in? And Daniel James fires past Caldolo. Could Darlow have saved it? Maybe. Maybe I'm being a bit too harsh, I don't know. But Manchester United go 2-1 up, and it's game over for me. All the hard work of getting back into the game at 1-1, we shot ourselves in the foot. And Manchester United take full control of that second half, full control of the game. And they go on and get that third goal as well towards the end through a Bruno Fernandes hit. He takes a spot kick, puts it beyond Caldolo into the bottom left-hand corner. You could argue, was it a penalty? Willock, for me, loses his footing. He slips and he catches Marcus Rashford. Did he dive? For me, it doesn't really matter. We're already 2-1 down. We don't look like getting back into the game. Man United have plenty of chances. And yeah, they dispatch it. And Man United go 3-1 up. There could have been 4-1 up as well with a Harry Maguire chance. But it was a good save by Caldolo. But for me, yes, the first half was good. But that's all well and good. Second half was just lethargic. No tempo. No anything. There was no real urgency to want to get back into the game to make it 2-2. It's been the summary of our season. Like, the minute we go 1-0 down, or the minute we've worked so hard to get back into a game, if we concede again, we'll just give up. The lads don't seem to put a foot in. It's a real issue. It's something that I've seen all too often under Steve Bruce, not putting in a challenge, ball watching, and it's unacceptable at this level. And if we don't buck up our ideas, we are going to get relegated to the Championship. It's a stark reality. You look at Fulham now, who are showing more balls to want to stay in the Premier League. They beat Sheffield United. Yes, it might have only been 1-0. Sheffield United arguably could have, nicked it at 1-1. Was it a penalty? I say against 50-50, but they still won the game. They've picked up, I think, 7 points in the last 3 games. Something that we can't seem to do. Like, we win one game and then we go on a bad run of 3 or 4 games or whatever it is without winning. And I think the match of the day said we've lost the most games in 2021. That says it all, really, about how poor we really are under Steve Bruce. I've said it for months. I don't rate Steve Bruce. I wanted him gone months ago. I called it after the Chelsea game at home. I called it after the Brentford game. I called it after the Sheffield United game. I've called it for so many games after that. And I just believe now that the board are going to keep him. And if we do get relegated with Steve Bruce, well, the proof's always been in the pudding. The writing's been on the wall. We've said it as a fan base since he took the job that he's not good enough for Premier League level. The stats speak for themselves. He's the worst manager in Premier League history in terms of his win ratio. And he's taken it down the way it's looking. And he just can't seem to get a team selection correct. He really can't. And all his excuses are starting to really dry up now. There's nowhere for him to go. And for me, we've got a big month coming up with Wolves. We've got to play the likes of West Brom, Brighton, Burnley. I've mentioned it before. If we can't beat these sort of sides, for me, I think we're down. We're doomed. But I am a firm believer that we can stay in the Premier League. We've got a good side. I believe in the squad. But right now, we just look toothless. We look lack of ideas. And if we do go down at the end of the season, I hope that doesn't happen. Fingers crossed. We won't come back up if we keep Steve Bruce as the manager. We should be making change now. You look at the games that we've got left. 13 games to save our season. And we've done it before under Steve McLaren. But I believe if we're bringing a manager now, then I feel like they've got an easier task because we have got a good side. Listen, we had a good side in 08-09. We had a good side in 15-16. But that's not to say with this side that's good enough to stay in the league that we won't get relegated again. It's possible. But, is Steve Bruce going to be the man to keep up? Well, I hope that we do stay in the league more than anything else. But I can only sense that change has to be made. We need to bring in a new manager that's going to really get the best out of these lads and build, for the future. But we know the big problem is Mike Ashley. He's not bothered. You look back at the January transfer window and really let ourselves down in that. only bringing in Joe Willock, and we got rid of Yedlin. I mentioned that before. He's probably better than Emil Kraft. I just don't rate him as a right back. For me, he's championship level. But I struggle to really rant about games now. I'm more just deflated. I'm dejected because I look at what we've got and we're so much better with a better manager. But with Steve Bruce, he's just a gift that keeps on giving every single match. And all these other fans are laughing at it because they want me to go down because of Steve Bruce. It's sad, isn't it? It really is. And I'm just frustrated. And if we do go down, we're not going to keep the likes of ESM. We're not going to keep Colin Wilson. We're not going to keep Jamal Lewis. We're not going to keep some with better players. It'll be a massive rebuilding challenge. I can see it. But whatever happens at the end of the season, if we stay up or not, there's going to have to be a massive rebuild at this football club because we can't keep playing like this and expect to get results, because I think now that we've been well and truly found out. But yeah, listen, I think I'm more just dejected, frustrated than annoyed at the actual result, because I know exactly who we're playing. Man United, we played the likes of Chelsea. I'm not expecting to win games. I don't demand a team that wins. I demand a team that tries. But now we actually need to start winning games, and I want to see it against Wolves. I want to see a better performance. I want to see that first half performance in the next game. If we could show that, then we've got a real chance. If really taking Wolves aside, yes, I know Wolves are a good team, but you look at where they are on the table, they haven't exactly had the best season. And then West Brom, if we don't win any of those two games, I think we're doomed. I really do. West Brom, for me, is probably the biggest one of the lot of Wolves and West Brom. But yeah, listen, I'm rambling now. Manchester United 3, Newcastle United 1. If you're new around here and enjoyed what I have had to say, well, you wouldn't have enjoyed it, you would have been more frustrated. Hit the like button, subscribe, turn on your notification bell, put your comments down below, and I'll see you all for the next one. That'll be the Wolves preview on Thursday. And in the meantime, keep yourselves safe out there, have a good week, and I'll see you all very, very soon. Keep it tuned. Away the lads.